everyone and welcome back to Brush and Bubbles. We have another super fun painting tutorial in store for you today, and this one is designed especially for the kids. So go grab your paints and call the kids because we're going to get creative. This is such a fun painting for the whole family to do, so I hope that you're all looking forward to it because we are going to be creating loads of splodges all over our canvas and then filling them with smiley faces. The reason why I love this painting so much is you can pick all of your favourite colours. So even if the whole family do a painting, everyone's is going to look different because you're all going to pick your favourite colours and shades that you like the best. If you're new to our channel, then welcome to the Bubble family. We bring you new painting tutorials every week so you can follow along from the comfort of your own house with step-by-step instructions. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can see when we've got a new tutorial out. Before we jump into our painting, I'm just going to talk you all through what we'll need to create this at home. I would just start by covering up your table with some tablecloth, old newspaper or an old towel. You'll need canvas, any size canvas that you like, and if you haven't got a canvas, you can just paint this on a piece of card instead. You'll need a couple of different size brushes. I have one medium square shaped brush and a couple of smaller pointy brushes. I've also got here a black felt tip pen. If you haven't got a black felt tip pen, don't worry because we're just going to be using this to draw on our smiley faces, and if you want to, you can do it with paint instead. You'll then need some kitchen towel to dab your brushes on, a glass or a pot of water, a palette to pop all of your paints in, and your acrylic paints. So once we get started, I'll be showing you which paint colours I'm personally going to be using for my painting, but like I mentioned, you can go wild and rogue with your own colours. You can use any shades that you want. So just spend a moment setting yourselves up, make sure you're nice and comfortable and relaxed. You can pop the music on, you can go grab some snacks and a drink, and then we'll get started with our smiley face painting. In my paint palette, I have white, red, yellow, blue and green paint. So this is your chance to add whatever colours and shades you want to use onto your palette. To start with, what we're going to do is mix up our first shade. Whichever one you want to use, you might want to use the colour straight out of the tube, or you might want to mix yours up a little bit to make it a little bit lighter, which is what I'm going to do. So I'll just be adding a little bit of white to some of my colours. So to start with, we're just going to do oval shapes, which are a little bit like circles, but they're slightly more like eggs. So pick up your favourite paintbrush, whichever one you want. I'm picking up this sort of medium shaped paintbrush. And moving over to my palette, I'm just going to mix up my first colour. So I think I'm going to start with a lighter shade of green. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of this green with my brush and I'm putting it into another dish on my palette, and then I'm going to pick up some of this white and give it a good old mix. What I would say is just make sure you're mixing up enough paint so we can do quite a few different oval shapes. So I'm just going to pick up some more green and some more white paint and give it a mix again. We're now going to move over to the fun bit, which is painting these all over our canvas. So what you can do is you can start with one and then we can do quite a few others dotted around our canvas wherever you want them to go. And you can also have some of them coming off the sides of the canvas and the top and the bottom as well. So just start by drawing in your first oval shape. Remember, these don't need to be neat. We want them to have a little bit of wobble to them because we want them to have lots of character, as these are going to be our faces. Once you're happy with your first shape, we can then go ahead and add another one in. So I might add another one over here. Again, don't worry if it's got a bit of wobble in there. And then you can just paint in the middle. We're now going to repeat this process using the same colour as many times as you want around your canvas. You might want to have some of your circles or ovals slightly smaller, some slightly bigger. Like I mentioned, you might want some coming off the top or the side. So I've just got one coming off the top of my canvas, and I might even just wrap it around so that it sort of flows over the side of the canvas as well. If you really love this colour that you're using, you can do loads and loads of these, because if it's your favourite colour, you're going to want to have lots of them on your painting. And if you don't like this colour as much, you might just want to stick to sort of 2 or 3 of them. But just spend a few minutes now painting in however many you want all over your canvas. When you're happy with your first shade of blobs, we're just going to give our brush a really good wash in our water. So just make sure you're giving it a little tap on the base of your cup, just to get all of that paint off. And then you can also just dab it on your kitchen towel, just to make sure you haven't got any excess paint left on the bristles. We can now move on to mixing up our next shade. So I think I'm going to go for a really light yellow. So I'm just going to pick up some of this yellow with my brush and move it over to a different dish. And then I'm going to add lots of white to this so I get a nice pastel yellow shade. And then you can give it a really good mix. Soon as you're happy with the shade that you've made, we're now just going to do exactly the same thing again, but using this colour. So what I'm going to start to do is just fill in some of these gaps within my canvas with the yellow, and just filling them all in exactly like we did with the green shade, or whichever colour you use to start with. So you can just start doing that now. Again, you might want to have some of your yellow blobs coming off the side of your canvas. Just make sure you're painting the edges as well. We're just going to start filling in some of the areas in between our green blobs. Soon as you're happy with your second blobs, we're just going to give our brush a really good wash again, just making sure you're really tapping it on the bottom of your cup to get rid of all of that excess paint. So you probably get what we're going to do next. Yep, you're right, we're going to move on to our next colour. So again, it's completely up to you which colour you want to go for. You might want to go for the shade that's come straight out of your paint tube, or you might want to mix it up a bit. I'm going to go straight in with some red paint, but I'm just going to move it over to a different dish and add a tiny little bit of white to it, just to give it more of a pinky tone. Soon as you're happy with your next shade, you can go back into your canvas and do exactly the same thing again. So we're just going to be filling in some of these gaps. But what you might also like to do, if your paint that you've already applied to the canvas is starting to dry, you might want to overlap them slightly if you want to. So for example, I might put my red one here, but it might overlap a little bit with that yellow one, just so it looks like this red one is in front of that yellow one. Just filling in all of the middle again, and then I'm just going to carry on doing this all over my canvas, just adding it into these gaps and then overlapping some of them if I feel like it needs it. So you can be the own judge of your own painting. Remember, everyone's is going to look totally different, and this is your chance to be a little bit individual and make your painting look a little bit different to everyone else's. Once you're happy with the red, we're just going to wash off our brush once again. We're now going to mix up our next colour. So for this, I'm going to go for a lighter blue. So I'm just going to pick up this blue that I've got here on my palette, and I'm going to move it over to a different dish again. And then I'm just going to add some more white paint to this as well and give it a really good mix. We can now do the same thing again. You're probably a pro at this by now. So we're just going to fill in some of the gaps with this blue paint. And if you want to, you can overlap some of those other blobs that you've done because they should be starting to dry a little bit now. Once you're happy with all your shapes, we're just going to make sure that we've given our brush a good wash again in our water. And what we're going to do now is have about a 5 or 10 minute break just to let everything dry before we move on to the super fun bit, which is painting in or drawing on our smiley faces. So if you want to speed up the drying process, you can either give it a very gentle wave like this, or you can go and use a hairdryer and very gently just give it a little dry on a low heat. So just spend that moment now just leaving your painting to dry, making sure that you have got either a black felt tip pen handy, or if you want to, you can just go in and use some black paint with one of your small brushes. So just make sure that you have prepared yourself within the break. So once your painting is lovely and dry, we can now move on to drawing in our faces. So like I said, I'm just going to be using a black felt tip pen to draw in my faces. But if you want to, you can use some black paint and just your small brush, and you're essentially doing exactly the same thing. So this is the fun bit, because you can do any kind of faces and expressions that you want to. You might want to do each single blob a completely different expression, some happy, some may be sad, some may be angry or scary or shocked. Anything goes. I think I'm going to keep mine all happy. And so what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to show you on this yellow one here, is I'm just going to do 2 little lines going down for the eyes, and then I'm just going to do a U shape for the mouth. And all we're going to do is do this on every single blob. So you might want to have some of them with the eyes slightly further apart, some quite close together. You might want some to be slightly more wonky. It's totally up to you, but you can just spend some time drawing in all of your smiley faces on all of your dots. And if any of the dots are coming off the side of your canvas like this one is, you probably will only see one eye and the side of the mouth. So you can just draw that in. So just take your time and do this on all of your blobs. As soon as you're finished adding in all of your smiley faces, you have then completed your painting masterpiece. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I hope that you enjoyed that video, and if you did, don't forget to give us a little thumbs up. And if you've had fun and want to check out some of our other painting tutorials, I will just pop a link above which will take you to a whole gallery of our other tutorials you can enjoy. Thank you all so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye!